the Rebel Daily live stream. Now, normally it's the big boss man in the chair here today, Ezra Levant. However, today it's me. Normally, when I host, I also have a co host, David Menzies. He's out and about busy today. So things are chaotic, hectic, and moving fast. Many of you are watching us on YouTube right now, but let me take a moment right now to welcome all of our new viewers on Rumble. Rumble is just one of the many platforms that we are trying to use right now since YouTube completely demonetized us. And I'll take a minute to just explain what that means, because I know that there's a little bit of confusion. A couple years ago, we were caught up in what was called the Great Demonetization at YouTube. That's when, social justice warriors ganged up and told YouTube what content was suitable for advertising. And as it turns out, no, it wasn't really us. So we haven't made a lot of ad dollars from YouTube in quite some time. But one of our revenue streams here at Rebel News was the Super Chats. YouTube allows us, or did at least until the tragic email we received last week from YouTube, they used to allow our viewers to interact with us and support the work that we do, doing something called a Super Chat. Now, you used to be able to kick in a few bucks in the bottom of the live chat happening on the side of the screen there if you're watching us on YouTube. But they took that away from us. And they never really told us why. We flat out asked them, why are you demonetizing us and taking this revenue stream right out of our company? We have no explanation. But we do have sorry, go ahead, Justin. Again, like I said, things are happening and they're chaotic and changing fast. So as soon as I'm done this, Justin will rerun the warning that YouTube makes us put on the front of all of our content here at Rebel News, or at least, things that touch on controversial issues, which again is 99% of the things we talk about. But we did sort of figure out a workaround here at Rebel News. So if you're watching on YouTube, if you go to the pinned comment, you'll see a link for Streamlabs. If you click on that, it'll take you off the page and it'll take you over to Streamlabs. Justin, I don't know if you're doing that right now. I can't really tell. Oh, good gracious. What a day this is going to be. So anyway, if you click on that link at the top of the YouTube live chat, it'll take you to Streamlabs. Perfect. Thank you so much, Justin. And there you can actually leave us what are we calling it a Rebel Chat, Justin? Okay, so this is a Rebel Chat. YouTube took away our Super Chat, so we figured out a workaround using Streamlabs for now. And you can do something called a Super Chat, Rebel Chat. Good gracious, this day. Anyway, Justin is giving me some moral support because I'm flying blind and working alone. It says, great job, Sheila. Keep it up. Shout out to Justin. And this is how you support the work that we do. And Justin will send those to me, and they'll show up on my external monitor, which I didn't really test before I jumped on this live stream. But he'll send it to me, and I'll do my best to read them aloud. So it replicates roughly what a Super Chat used to do, and it allows us to receive support from you, the viewer, completely willingly, unlike what Justin Trudeau makes you do with the mainstream media, and that's support them, even though you would never, ever want to consume whatever product they're producing for you. I guess now that that's out of the way, now that I've explained that, yes, we were previously demonetized, but now completely demonetized because they took away our Super Chats, which is a large revenue stream for us. What we're doing here is we talk about the news of the day. And that's a lot easier when there's somebody else with me, namely David Menzies. But we had some exciting things happening at the company all across the country over the weekend. I was in GraceLife Church in Edmonton, or west of Edmonton, Alberta. And for those of you who don't know the story of GraceLife Church, I mean, it's truly international. Pastor Coates, the pastor there, his wife was featured on Tucker Carlson. Oh, sorry. Thanks, Justin. We're going to play the warning again before we get into this. So this is that hideous YouTube warning. They make us run in front of everything.
Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
Now that you've all been sufficiently warned, let's move on to the news of the day. So Pastor Coates, sorry, Justin, I'm hearing an echo in my ear, so I don't know if your mic is still on. Thank you. Pastor Coates is the pastor at GraceLife Church west of Edmonton, Alberta. He just got out of 35 days in the slammer, 5 full weeks. In a maximum security facility in Edmonton, it's known as the Remand Center. It houses repeat offenders, recidivists, murderers, rapists, gangsters, people who are awaiting trial but do not qualify for bail. And qualifying for bail is easier than ever in the times of the COVID, right? They've got to put us all under house arrest, but let the criminals out because it's too dangerous for them in a provincial facility because they might catch the COVID. So Pastor Coates, on February 16th, turned himself in for doing something called, he failed to comply with the conditions of a public health order. So Pastor Coates, according to the public health orders here in Alberta, he's required to limit his congregation to just 15% of capacity. He's also required to force his congregation into masks, and he's required to force them to social distance. That's something that Pastor Coates and the congregation all say inhibits their ability to practice their faith. For them, coming together, all of them, every single week, uninhibited as the body of Christ is essential to the practice of their faith. So Pastor Coates did not limit his congregation. He first received a fine, then he was arrested, I think it was February 7th in his office. He was released that day with what was called an undertaking, and that's ultimately what he ended up in trouble for breaching. So he turned himself in after his February 14th sermon. The following business day was the 16th. And there he remained in provincial custody for 35 days. He did qualify for bail, but he couldn't in good conscience accept the conditions of his bail release, which would be to comply with a public health order limiting his church. So he languished away in jail for 35 days. And he was denied bail on appeal once. A deal was struck somewhere along the line, and I think it's when the horrible Crown prosecutor involved in it all, Karen Thorsrud, was shuffled out and a new prosecutor came in. If you'd like to learn more about Karen Thorsrud, might I suggest KarenThorsrud.com. She tried to have her name kept secret because I would suspect she's probably ashamed of her involvement in imprisoning a pastor. Anywho, a deal was struck. Wouldn't have been this Friday before, or no, sorry, the Wednesday before. Pastor Coates was to be released with 1 day served in jail. Well, we knocked that off 35 times, and a $100 fine. That wasn't good enough for the judge that was supposed to sign off on the deal, a judge named Jeffrey B. Champion, Justice Jeffrey B. Champion. He insisted that he needed a maximum deterrent for Pastor Coates and handed him a $1,500 fine before he could be released. Pastor Coates was released, and he was released on Monday, so a full week ago today. This past Sunday was the first service at GraceLife Church since Pastor Coates was released. Now, he didn't do any preaching this week. He was, took the week off, spent it with his family. Plus, he was in jail for 35 days. It's kind of tough to put together a sermon when you're in jail for 35 days. But he was back at church with his family. I mean, just a triumphant welcome back to his church by everybody who in his congregation and people who came from all around who are now members of his congregation, because the congregation has grown so much. But while his return was triumphant, the return of the police was also pretty significant. for the first time in several weeks, because the church has gone on without Pastor Coates, and it's gone on at maximum capacity. Pastor Jake Spence has been doing services there while Pastor Coates was in prison. But the police yesterday at GraceLife came onto the property with an Alberta Health Services inspector and insisted on entering the church, even though that's illegal. You cannot disrupt. I think the language is interrupt or disrupt a religious service in this country. It contravenes, I think it's section 176(2) of the Canadian Criminal Code. And we were there, as I have been for, I think it's the past 7 or so weeks. I've been at GraceLife every Sunday, just documenting what's going on and enjoying the normalcy there. But we were there when the police came on scene, and ultimately they did not enter. But boy, it was pretty tense there for a bit, and we have exclusive footage of that. Justin, if you want to roll it here.
We have the authority to.
So are you saying?
So it'll be obstruction if it does come down to that.
Yeah, no, we understand,
Okay,
but we're saying the
so-
worship service has started, and your presence is an interruption of that worship service.
So we're not going to go into the pulpit. Yeah, we're going to go to the
No,
bell.
but even like I said, you guys have, it is a great intimidation to women and children,
Yeah,
which
well,
isn't
that's not what we're here for.
which is a disruption.
No,
And again, that's your perception.
So are you telling us that the public health orders override Criminal Code 176?
I'm not here to debate that.
Okay.
I'm here to do a job under the
But
Alberta
you
law.
entering the building would
Okay,
determine that is
So you're-
overridden?
now, see, we're getting into a debate.
No, I'm asking a question. I'm trying to get an answer.
Again, I'm not here to debate those things. Those are things that
Okay.
can
Yeah.
be debated in court.
Okay. So-
and I'll let the lawyers and the judges make that
Okay.
call.
So I
Okay?
guess though, by
So-
you guys going inside, you would be saying that
you're guilty of interrupting a worship
No,
service.
I'm not saying that.
no, but you're saying that the public health orders override Criminal
I'm not
Code
saying that either.
176.
But that's why we can't let you in then, because the Code 176 makes it illegal for you to interrupt a worship service. And our worship service has begun,
Mhm.
and we're stating that to you very clearly, that your presence in this building will be interrupting our worship service.
How so?
Because your presence intimidates our people.
That's your perception.
Well, no.
No, no, and again, it's
So-
not about perception. Our people understand that you guys, and again, we respect the work that you do in the community. We respect you as police officers, but in our worship service right now, people are praying, people are singing, people are listening to the Word of God be preached,
Mhm.
and they can't do that with your presence in the building.
And with all due respect, the law has now put our pastor in prison. And so for the RCMP to come into the service, it is absolutely a disruption. We have seen the arm of law enforcement come against us. So to come in our building is absolutely intimidation at this point.
That's why we can't let you in.
Once again, I'm sorry you feel that way, but you have to understand that we also have a job to do. Right?
Yeah.
We do.
Okay.
We
so
do.
under that authority, that's why we're here.
Okay.
We're not here to go up and down the aisles. We're not here to
But
interrupt the
you actually
service.
will be.
No, we
when
won't.
when you go inside, you will see that you will be.
Our people are sitting right there. Like,
Okay. Again,
and our
we're-
service has now, we are officially started.
right now we have. 'cause
Yeah.
We've wasted time here.
It
We
would
was
have
started
been-
before that, but now he's in the pulpit.
We were already praying and singing.
Yeah.
before that.
Oh,
He's in the
okay.
pulpit.
Sure. I haven't been in, so I don't know what it's like. But
Yeah.
like I said, it's not that we're here to interrupt anything. And
But you will
don't.
be. And it's not an interpretation. You will be. It's a fact. You will be interrupting. So what is the intent?
I'm here today just to observe the service
Okay.
and just to observe the compliance with the orders.
Hey, what's your name, sir?
My name is Dragan.
Dragon? Okay.
Okay.
My name's Rob.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Scott.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, and
So there is
again,
no other intent.
yeah. No, but again, with that intent, it will interrupt our worship service.
We don't have intent to interrupt your service. Like we would.
I think there's nothing
Yeah.
inside that you're going to see that you can't see clearly from out here with the amount of cars in the parking lot. So again, I would ask, why do you need to be in the building versus what you've seen with the amount of people that have come into our building from outside?
I would need to observe your compliance with 50% capacity.
I think you can count, just by counting the cars, you can tell we're not compliant, and so that's why I'm saying you can't come in.
Compliance with masking and physical distancing.
And again, I would say with witnessing people that are, that have stood outside and people over there, you can witness without coming into the building, that same thing.
I would rather observe from inside rather than just assume
Yeah.
what's going on inside.
Well, no, you're not assuming, because you can see there's people not social distancing
And you
and
can see the
masking,
cars.
and you can count the cars in the
There's
parking
no
lot.
assumptions.
There's no assumptions there. And with your own testimony and they're witnessing that, you don't need to come inside the building.
Another thing is, under the Public Health Act, we have the right to enter at any reasonable time any place of business.
Under the Health Act you do, but not under the Criminal Code
Under the
176.
Public Health Act.
Yeah, which doesn't override.
So like I
Criminal
said,
Code 176.
just to be clear, we are standing on Criminal Code 176.
You're standing on the Health Act.
You're standing on the Health Act. So now we're at an impasse.
So, Scott, so at the end of the day, the Public Health Act says we have access to go in the building.
Okay.
If you don't want us to go in the building, that's fine, but you're accepting the fact you're denying us access to the building. Okay? So if you deny access to the building, there's potential for criminal charges or potential for additional charges.
Yeah.
So that being said, we're going to respect the fact that you guys don't want us to go to the church. We're not going to go into the church.
Okay.
We're going to stay outside and we'll observe the numbers as they come.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? So then there's no further interaction.
Yeah.
Disruption.
Thank
Are
you.
you satisfied with that?
Very much so, yeah. If you can observe from outside, that
Yep.
would be...
And sorry, can you say that one more time? So just so I'm clear, we're subject
So
to
denying us
additional-
access under the Public Health Act,
Yeah.
there's potential charges that could come, additional
Yeah.
charges that could come to that under like potential under the Public Health Act or the Public Health orders or whatever.
Yeah, okay.
That'll be for them to sort out because that's an AHS
Yeah,
sort of
yeah,
thing. That's not an
understood.
RCMP
Yeah.
thing.
Got it.
Okay, so we're here in support of him.
Yeah.
If you don't want us to go in there because you're basing it on disrupting a church service, sorry.
No, that's okay. No, we get
Like,
it.
you see how tight this is?
Yeah.
So that's fine.
Yeah.
Like, I want to respect boundaries.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I don't want to get into a debate.
Yeah, exactly.
So-
And you know, we've
Yeah.
been working.
We've dealt with you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. We've been more than amicable. We've been more than
You guys have
professional. I
been
want to
awesome
keep
to
it at that way.
thank you. Yeah.
It's always been typically
Yeah.
consistently me that
Yeah.
comes here. It's already started. We'll respect that. Like,
Okay.
So we'll do an observation from outside of the property,
Thank you.
and we won't go into the church.
Yes.
If the guys come back next Sunday, we'll make sure that if that's the case, that they come in prior to service starting.
Isn't that fascinating? There was one really good cop there that didn't want any part of this. You could tell he was doing everything he could to avoid going into that church. He left, he called his superior. But there's that other cop and that AHS inspector that they were arguing everything they could to get themselves inside that church. And you can hear over the loudspeaker outside because that church gets so full and so many people are eager to attend it that they have loudspeakers outside so people can sit on like picnic tables and benches and listen to the service. You can hear. They're well aware that service is taking place, and yet they still want to go in because for those other two cops, or at least the cop and the Alberta Health Services inspector, for them, they didn't think that the law actually applied to them. They thought that there was just a sneaky little workaround of Section 176.2. And you know what? Hats off to the elders at GraceLife Church. They stood firm. They weren't rude. They knew exactly what they were talking about. But the answer to every time the cops wanted to come into that church was no, that breaks Section 176.2. There was just no way around it. They dealt with the cops outside. They didn't let them come in. They didn't let them disrupt the service. And I was really proud because it starts off really tense. I think we have about 17 minutes of footage of that, and it'll be going up in full on the YouTube channel sometime after we get off the stream today. I recommend that you watch it because there's a way to deal with cops, and that church handled it great. And there's a way to be a good cop. And I saw it unfold right in front of my eyes. And like I said, it's about 17 minutes long. It starts off ugly. It gets really tense. You don't know how things are going to resolve. The church stands firm, and that one cop looks for a solution. And after that all sort of shook out, he didn't even sit on the property to monitor the church. He sat sort of at the corner at the intersection to monitor the church. Of course, that was his assignment that day, but that's what he did. He didn't even go on the church property after that, and I thought that was really great. I guess we do have a couple Rebel chats to read. I see they're popping up on my screen over there. Again, if you'd like to send us a Rebel chat, if you click on the little pinned comment on the top of our live stream there, it'll take you off YouTube over to Streamlabs, where you can leave us a Rebel chat, ask me a question, ask me a comment, throw a couple bucks my way so I can kill some time, because it's hard to fill an hour by yourself. I really don't know how Ezra does it. Well, I do know how Ezra does it. I've been stuck in a car with him, and being on the live stream alone, like watching him alone, that's exactly what it's like driving from Red Deer to Calgary with Ezra. He's just telling you anecdotes, telling you stories, sometimes quoting the Bible, getting it 50% wrong. He wants to show you video clips, but at least luckily you're driving, so you're like, no, I'll hear your theories about how Angry Birds is an anti-immigration movie another time. So it takes a special talent for doing these live streams by yourself, and Ezra's got it, and I definitely don't. So again, if you want to send a super chat, Rebel Chat my way, just click on the pinned link at the top, and I'll get your comment sent to me. Justin, are we ready to go with the first one here? Well, okay, perfect. So Ronald M donated $2, and he says, I like cheeseburgers. Do you like yellow jumpsuits and big red clown shoes? Because I think that's Ronald McDonald super chatting me. Peter GTA Tours gives us $6, and I don't see a Rebel Chat, but that's very generous. Thank you very much. Black Rock Beacon donated $5. I love this idea. Sorry, I have to expand this. I love this idea to bypass super chat. Spread this idea. Users who want to donate to a creator but not to YouTube could do this. Also, the character length I'm getting for my donation is way better. You can say more for less money. That's a good reason alone. Might I also suggest to everybody who's tuning in, who's sort of on the fence about whether or not they want to send a Rebel Chat. When we had to do super chats through YouTube, YouTube took 30% of your donation to us. And you know what? That's consignment dollars. It's a little steep, but it was their platform and it was their tool. So, whatever. But if we do it this way, we actually get 100% of the money minus the credit card processing. So this is probably, if we can sort of build momentum with it, everybody at home, this might be a better way for us to do this. Necessity is the mother of all invention, and necessity might benefit us. And, we're innovators. We've always been innovators here at Rebel News. In an effort to stop me from talking to myself, which is moderately uncomfortable, we've got some footage from Montreal over the weekend. We sent some of our Rebel team to Montreal. I think the website that we're using for their work, and if you want to support the work that they're doing in Montreal, is at lockdownreports.com. Is that right, Justin? Okay, perfect. So lockdownreports.com. That's where we sent some of our young guys every weekend, as it turns out, in at least recent times. They're going to Montreal to report on what's happening there. Yankee Pollock, he goes out just about every night to talk about the curfew there and investigate what life is like in a modern Western society that has a curfew, if you can even believe that. We've got Mocha and Lincoln, and these guys are out there every single week. We've got, I think Efron went out there this weekend. So our entire team is deployed to these places where, especially in Montreal, there's not a lot of English language coverage of what's happening there. And so to fill a void, to tell the other side of the story, because it's really not being told, we sent a team out there, and we've got some raw footage from over the weekend, and it is absolutely nuts. Now, I want to tell you before we get into this, our team goes with letters that say, we're journalists, we're exempt from all your lockdown garbage. But that's not good enough for these cops. Our team goes with press passes. Yankee, he wears a jacket that identifies him as a journalist. It's not good enough for these cops. They just don't care. They're scooping up and grabbing everybody. So maybe, Justin, if you want to roll some of this footage, please.
Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
I'm not in a crowd. I'm not in a crowd of 20 though.
Okay, what?
Why? My colleague is detained. I have to stay.
Let's go.
I'm on public property.
No, man, put your mask on.
I'm not in a group of 20 though.
Hey, toi, c'est le trottoir. Hey.
I'm not in a group of 20. What?
Okay. You walking? You want a ticket or not?
That's fine.
Okay, but go. Keep walking.
Ticket's fine.
Stay on the sidewalk. Let's go.
This is like, we're documenting what's happening here, guys.
I know, Yankee. You're friendly.
So why are we getting such a tough time? We've been through this so many times with you guys.
Why is he being arrested?
You just told us you were in the protest. You're gonna come.
Okay. We'll understand now.
Why is he being arrested? He's on public property. I'm documenting the protest.
Why did you arrest the 2 members of the media? They're not violent people.
All right, guys, once again, please go to lockdownreports.com. Help fund our journey. Once again, we're showing you what's really going on the ground in Montreal. Mocha currently being dealt with by the police. Assuming he's just receiving a ticket, we'll see what happens.
Well, I'm back. I told you guys, I was right. The collective forces of this nation is perverted. It's corrupted. They're badges. They are thugs wearing badges. That's all they are. They are using a legal vacuum to be thugs towards peaceful protesters and members of the media.
For Rebel News, I'm Lincoln J.
Mocha Bezirgan.
Thanks for watching, guys.
You know, I could listen to Mocha say his own name all day long. So that was Lincoln being detained. Mocha was arrested this weekend. I think Efron was detained. If you're on Twitter, I'm sure you've seen some of that footage by now. They know Yankee by name in that video. They've detained and hassled Yankee so many times that we're on a first name basis. And Justin, I couldn't hear the full audio of that. Is that the clip where they say, is that the Jew? Yeah, there's if it's kind of hard to hear when it's on Skype and we're broadcasting a video in my ear. But if you friends, we're working on a full length video of what happened to our team and the innocent people of Montreal over the weekend. It's rife with just civil liberties violations. We've got a cop on camera as they're arresting one of our guys saying, "Is that the Jew?" Whatever that means. Strange question to ask before you arrest someone, I would say. But, you know, preface what you saw there with the cops in Montreal versus that one cop out at GraceLife. It's been my experience with the cops in rural Alberta, particularly RCMP working in small towns, that they really don't want any part of this. It's very different than what we're seeing from the police forces in some of Canada's largest cities like Montreal. And again, our team, if you want to support the work that they're doing to tell the other side of the story in Montreal, that's at lockdownreports.com. They're out there every weekend, but I think they're doing valuable work. And as you can see, they're putting themselves in harm's way to get the story. Yes, thanks. You can you can donate monthly. You can donate a little bit. You can donate a lot, but every little bit helps. These guys, they travel cheap. They all stay together. They, carpool down there, and they just, they're just eating fast food. They're not, it's nothing extravagant. They're there to work and come back. They're checking into the meeting this morning as they were packing up. So it's, they're stretching every little bit of money that they get just to tell the other side of the story. I got a few more Rebel chats up on the screen here before we move along. Brian donated $5. Did I wake up in North Korea? I've always respected the RCMP, and they have been placed in a tough position. I don't blame them. I blame the person whose name should be discovered and disclosed, who sent Alberta Public Health Inspector to harass GraceLife Church. Well, you know what? I have my suspicions. But Justin, were you able to find Rachel Notley's absolutely demonic, satanic tweet? Okay, can you throw that up on the screen, please? For anybody who questions whether or not things would be better or worse as far as civil liberties goes with Rachel Notley in charge, might I suggest you take a gander at this tweet. This is Rachel Notley. She's polling right about neck and neck, actually, with Jason Kenney of the United Conservative Party. If the election were called today, I think it would be pretty darn close. And yet, this authoritarian wingnut says enough is enough. GraceLife must be shut down. And then she hashtags Alberta Legislature, Alberta Health Services. So she says so many other congregations across the province have made sacrifices and adapted their services to comply with public health orders. People attending this church are not above anyone else. Their refusal to follow the rules puts others at risk. She is saying this as a former premier. This is how this woman would respect civil liberties. She would close all your churches if she could. She'd lock all of you in your houses if you could. But this is not shocking from somebody like Rachel Notley. She wears a Che Guevara wristwatch in the legislature. So as she's checking the time, see when she's got to go to her next meeting, she picks up her watch and looks at the face of a homophobic, anti-Christian, anti-freedom murderer to see if she's late for her next meeting. So am I surprised that she would, am I surprised that she would feel this way? Absolutely not. In fact, it's a little bit on the nose, isn't it? And I think now is a very good time for Jason Kenney to distinguish himself from the likes of Rachel Notley. If she's, right now, frankly, they are dancing to the same song. There's a closure notice on this church's doors, and it was issued by Alberta Health Services under Premier Jason Kenney. So, I mean, Rachel Notley, I guess, just wants enforcement of the things that Jason Kenney's government has already done. But if you think that things would be any better under Rachel Notley, I guarantee you they would be much worse. There would be more pastors in jail. There would be more people in jail for just trying to live their life. She wants this congregation attacked and fined, and nobody's there against their will. They all desire to be there together. But, you know, as they say, there's nothing new under the sun, right? This is just Rachel Notley being the same old commie that she's ever been. I think it's Ecclesiastes 1:19. What has been done will be again. What has been done will be done again. There's nothing new under the sun. So Rachel Notley's not special. She's just the same old commie like the Soviets before her, closing churches, locking up pastors, taking away religious freedom in the name of whatever it is, public health, the greater good, I guess is all they need to say. What a satanic woman. Okay, let's keep going. Matt B, 300, just donated $2 to us in the form of a Rebel chat. Says, hey, Sheila, hope you have a great day. Oh, boy, I'm trying. I'm trying. I was just curious, what is the tattoo on your arm? Which arm? I have two here. What is it looks very cool. Shout out to Justin. Okay. So I have, I guess, if I have two on my forearm. One is just, you know, like your standard, I don't know if you can see that. It's just a pistol on one arm. And on the other side, I got it in Israel. It is an image of the crucifixion. And I got it at Rizuk Tattoo. And they're in the old city of Jerusalem. They've been tattooing Christian pilgrims for 800 years. And they use the old block templates for their tattoos. So the tattoos that they are giving Christian pilgrims like me today are the same designs that they gave to Christian pilgrims over the last 800 years. And it's been consistently the same family doing it, father to son, father to son. And so when we were in Israel last time on our last Rebel trip, which I hope we do again, because there's so much to see in Israel, you never can see it all, so much history. And it's interesting to be in Israel, and history is alive. As we're driving down the road, our tour guide's like, you know, when Jesus was, you know, struggling with the devil in the wilderness, that's the wilderness right there. And you're like, what? You forget that it's a real place that still exists in modern Israel. And you're like, but there's people people dirt biking there. It's a little strange to have history brought into modern times. But anyways, yeah, that's it's imagery of the crucifixion, and so it's sort of that pre-Byzantine design. And how could I not? You know, as someone who kind of likes tattoos, and I was in Israel and I was a Christian pilgrim, how could I not sneak in away from the whole tour and jump in and have a quick tattoo? So, you know, I'd love to go back, maybe round up another one. Thanks. Julie donated $15. Keep up the great work. You're the only news media out there with video of this exchange. Where were the rest? I think if you're talking about Pastor Coates, or at least the GraceLife Church stopping the police from coming in, the reason there is no other media imagery of this, although there were a lot of media there on the weekend, because I think they knew in advance that the police and Alberta Health Services were coming in. I mean, because they've completely lost interest in this story. Every week there's just one reporter or one photographer from Post Media that shows up. So that covers off like all the Sun Chain newspapers, Calgary Herald, Edmonton Journal. It covers them all off. So they just have to send one because they're all the same company. But this week they were there in full force, and they even brought with them 6 security guards. The media did. Yeah. The media brought with them 6 security guards on Palm Sunday, which I think is a gross misunderstanding of Christianity, but okay. I mean, and this is a church that if you actually were interested in knowing anything about them, you could tune into their live stream to know that every single week they pray for their enemies. They pray for the detractors of the church and the people who do misunderstand them. And yet the media shows up with 6 security guards because what? They think the people who ascribe to turn the other cheek are going to come out and attack them. There's a reason this church keeps the media at bay. So I'm the only media that's allowed onto the property. I was the person who had the last interview with Pastor Coates. I yesterday had the first interview with him after he left, after he was sort of done his things in the church. I sat down with him to have an exclusive interview about his experience in jail, and you know what his experience is now and what it's been like, and the toll it has taken on his family and him personally. I think it was very hard on him. But the other media are kept off the property, and that's why, because they show up doing this theater. Oh, we need security. Look at our 6 security. So yeah, why let those liars on the property? Good job for that church. That church is so great with handling the cops, handling Alberta Health Services, and handling the media. They're just doing everything right. Devin Davis. Oh, my friend Devin. Devin gave me a MacArthur Study Bible yesterday, and I heard that Devin had a baby yesterday. After church, his wife went into labor. But look how much I've been in church. I know I'm getting study Bibles, and I know when people are having babies. This is wonderful. Just the best people. And that's why it makes me so mad when people like Rachel Notley say that this church is irresponsible or they're not loving their neighbor by joining together. It's a gross misunderstanding of who they are. I've been inside. Somebody said to me yesterday, thanks for taking care of us in the media these last, several weeks, nearly 2 months. And I said, actually, I feel like when I'm here that you guys are taking care of me. So it's something. Anyways, Devin, thank you. Thank you for the study Bible. And he said, Sheila, we had a big day yesterday. We had a boy. I did hear that. Somebody else from the church text me to say that you had a healthy, bouncing baby boy yesterday. So congratulations, Devin. Laura donated $2. Stats Canada did a report saying there were more excess deaths in 2020 than COVID deaths. I firmly believe that, actually. If you look at the, I'll finish the Rebel chat before I get on my tangent here. Kind of shows that lockdowns are deadlier than COVID. And Hamilton, Ontario went back into lockdown today. Wow. I know someone who has been diagnosed with PTSD from the lockdowns. Did you know in Alberta, I think it's in Alberta, in 2020 versus 2019, the COVID the opioid deaths doubled. Like they doubled. And I think, and I'm only speculating here, but I know a little something about the human condition, being a human and all. I think that has a lot to do with, first of all, depression caused by the lockdowns, and isolation. So unemployment, depression, isolation, lockdowns. There's a lot of things go into this, plus this money that you're just dumping on very troubled people. The rates of opioid deaths doubled in 1 year. I mean, and that's something that we should be horrified about. We're not talking about it because we're talking about COVID deaths. And I think the opioid deaths in Alberta are roughly the same as the COVID deaths. And the COVID death, I think the average age of death is 82. These opioid deaths, by and large, are taking people in their prime. It's very tragic, very, very tragic. And nobody's talking about it. Warning censorship, donated $2. Montreal looks like a police state. Boy, does it ever. What a disgrace. Bet those cops' families are proud. It's sad, isn't it? Kentuckian donated $15. Thank you very much. I refused using the super chats after finding out YouTube took 30%. You're doing a great job, Sheila, but you and David are a great team. Yeah, you know what? David and I have chemistry that I just don't have by myself talking to a camera, that's for sure. Rebel fan donated $3. Thank you so much. Without Rebel News, so many people wouldn't know what is happening. Glad we found Rebel News last year. You know, I think our coverage of the churches has rounded up a lot of people who didn't realize what we do here. And it's brought a lot of eyeballs to our work who, I'm not saying that they would disagree with us. They just maybe didn't know what we were doing here. And helping the churches resist these COVID infringements on them, I think has rounded up a whole new tribe of Rebel viewers, which I'm really proud of. Goo Guaba donated $12.59. Oh, I know exactly who you are. Hi, good to see you. More funds for the coffers from your American cousin, Sheila. Oh, hello. Good to see you over here. Free Canada donated $2. Asking someone if they are a Jew prior to arresting them is right in line with an authoritarian police state. Yeah. You must watch that full-length video coming out about that. It is just atrocious. I saw most of it in snippets, one snippet at a time over the weekend. And it's something that you can't even imagine happening on the streets of Canada. But it is. And the mainstream media seems completely checked out about all of it. They're more worried about mean tweets and shutting down a church in rural Alberta. Okay, the Rogues Tavern donated $5. Great coverage of GraceLife. Keep up the great work. Maybe it will inspire more preachers here in BC. For some great information, check out beingfree.ca. I know that here in Alberta, Pastor Trevor Stevens and his brother Tim, the two freedom-fighting Baptist preachers, one up in Sherwood Park and then one in Calgary, along with some other pastors. They have an initiative called OpenAlbertaChurches.com, I believe, is what it is. And they're part of the Liberty Coalition. And they want to inspire other churches to open their doors all the time, but especially for Easter. It's the most holy day of the Christian calendar. It's the time when we all must be together, and they're trying to get churches to stand in solidarity with them because they're wide open, and with Pastor Coates and Pastor Jake Spence, who I don't think gets enough credit for what he's done. Pastor Jake Spence at GraceLife. Pastor James was taken away. Pastor Jake stepped up, knowing that he could himself join Pastor Coates behind bars. But he did it anyway, every single week. And because he knew he had a job to do and someone to be obedient to, God above all else. And so I don't think he gets the credit that he deserves for the bravery, knowing what had happened to his associate pastor. Let's keep going. Hillary donated $5. Why is Premier Kenney silent about the abuse of health and justice systems, as well as the RCMP city police? Sounds like Montreal police are out of control. Amazing how Quebec curfew knows the virus hides at a certain time. You know what else is funny? The virus affects you at certain heights. If you go to a restaurant in Alberta and you're sitting, say you're like at 4 feet high and you're telling a story, you're sharing a beer, you're laughing, you're joking, you're spreading your cooties all around as you tell funny jokes. That's fine. You don't have to wear a mask. But if you stand up and I get all the way up to 5'7", I'm a super spreader event, and somebody in the restaurant is going to rush over and tell me to put a mask on or they're going to kick me out. It's bizarre. It's not only does the virus know about time, it knows about dates, it knows the reason you're on the street, and it knows about height. It's nothing this virus doesn't know. Commie Canada donated $3. Jason Kenney is an opportunist, not a conservative. The UCP and the Conservative Party of Canada have already sold out, and they will likely lose the next election cycles. Can't have any resistance to the Great Reset, which will be happening. Well, I think the Conservative Party of Canada is going to lose anyway, no matter what they did. But Jason Kenney, I mean, going from highly popular to neck and neck with Rachel Notley, who absolutely destroyed this province. And I don't think it's because people are shifting to Rachel Notley. I think it's because people are shifting away from Jason Kenney. They expected someone who would defend civil liberties and religious freedom the way that Jason Kenney spent much of his time in Harper's cabinet defending religious freedom around the world for pastors in China, in the Middle East, Russia. They expected Jason Kenney to be that guy. They are not getting that guy. Compromised Informant donated $23. I don't see a Rebel chat. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for those Rebel chats. And again, if you'd like to send one, because YouTube has completely demonetized us, they've taken away our ability to receive super chats from you. If you go to the top of the live stream, there's a pinned comment. Click on that. It'll take you off YouTube over to Streamlabs, and you can leave us a Rebel chat, as we're calling it there. And we actually get the majority of that money, close to 100% of that, minus the credit card processing fees, which is unlike our arrangement previously with YouTube, where they took 30% of any donation that you gave us. And again, as you've seen here, I'll read it on the air. Let's move on to the next topic, because I think I'm all caught up on those Rebel chats. We have 13 minutes left in the show. We have some excellent footage of Avi headed out to a climate change protest. And man, I love the climate change protest. I love all the idling buses outside of a climate change protest. I love all the people leaving garbage behind. I love all the single-use plastics. I do like single-use plastics, but the other side of the argument says that they don't like them. The single-use signage. I love all that stuff about a climate change protest. I love the hypocrisy of it. And we've got some great footage from Avi. Justin, if you wouldn't mind rolling that, please.
Are you feeling like this was a successful week?
I think it was, yes.
Do you think Melburnians are now going to... You've opened hearts and minds by blocking the city off all week?
I think they might start thinking about it.
Guys, can I just ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
Have these lot convinced you that climate emergency is really important now that they've blocked the city off all week for you?
No, not one bit.
Seriously, what's wrong with you?
What's wrong with me?
The world is ending.
When's it ending?
Don't you think when you lock down the city like that, people are not talking about climate, they're talking about the a-holes that are stopping them from getting in and out of work? Is that not?
Yeah, we don't do this with the expectation that, everyone is going to be our friend about it. We're doing it because we have no further options available to us.
You could do it without blocking off the city.
Yeah, but then we'd be ignored.
Honestly, I don't think anyone actually cares.
About what?
About any of this, People just want to get on with their lives, to be honest.
Does it help your cause, though, that the only reason why people are not ignoring you is because they're angry at you?
Yeah, I think it does.
Do you think so far this week has been successful?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you think you've changed some hearts and minds?
I hope so.
Yeah.
Last night we lost 2 tables because they couldn't get here on time. And that's about it. If they want to protest, very well. I'm all with them. But they can go and sit in the Parliament House and disturb the...
Last Friday, you guys drove a diesel truck into the centre of the CBD.
Yeah.
forcing hundreds of vehicles to burn petrol for hours until police bring a diesel.
Don't really allow a lot of space for it.
I asked, so can you answer that?
Yes, I have. I've got no comment.
You're complaining that I talk too much, but you don't want to answer.
I used to be a climate scientist. It's a huge deal.
You used to be a climate scientist?
Yes. I used to work for Ernst & Young, a company in the city, for the climate change and sustainability team.
Do you think that makes people of Melbourne turn around and go, oh, wow, climate emissions is really a problem, I need to do something? Or do you think they turn around and go, these guys are full of crap?
That is indeed a very good question. Let's take a minute to respond because it's complicated.
Why don't, in another way, how would you do it?
I'm not the one protesting. I just wouldn't do it the one way that I'm advocating against.
Give us an alternative and we were listening to you.
Anything but burning diesel.
I didn't bring a pen and paper, so all of this information might overwhelm me and make my position to answer your questions difficult.
But you're a scientist. It should come pretty naturally.
Why don't you actually listen?
I'm happy to listen. He says he doesn't want to talk.
Yeah, you just want to talk.
I don't want to talk. I got questions.
It caused gridlock in the middle of the city, right?
Yeah.
Which is no fossil fuels being burnt.
They're literally standing there in gridlock burning.
The city doesn't need cars or trucks.
So why did they need to do it? Why did they need to use a truck?
To show the community.
The aim of this interview is to intimidate you to the point
that
you
come on, mate.
You say stuff that looks bad. You know.
I'm speaking the truth.
Yeah, I know. But
He can talk. Let him talk. He's an adult. I'm intimidating. John, come on.
I love everything about that. I do. Like the opening scene with Avi talking to that lady, climate grandma. There's tarps and plastic and all kinds of stuff in the background. These people are so clueless about the bountiful goodness of plastics and fossil fuels. And, you know, there was something true that escaped that one person's mouth. He said, Avi asked, like, why are you doing this? Like, why are you inconveniencing people? And the guy said, I sort of scribbled it down, it's not quite verbatim, but said, because if we don't, people won't care. Yeah, that's exactly it. They only care because they're inconvenienced. Nobody really, like no normal person cares about climate change. A lot of people think that they should care because the media is just like barfing it at them every single day, and the climate activists won't shut up about how we're all going to die in 12 years or 11 years or 9 years or whatever the doomsday clock is at these days. But nobody really cares. That's why people will say, okay, fine, I'll just pay a carbon tax, because that's the easiest way to deal with these things, is just hand some money and get off my back. Nobody actually genuinely cares about this stuff. People only care that you've inconvenienced them and caused them to sit in traffic for hours, as Avi rightly points out. And, you know, like, they've never had somebody like Avi ask them a single skeptical question. They've only ever had the true believing media come and say, you know, like, how are you going to convince people that the world is going to end? Not like, what are you trying to prove with these tactics here, guys? Like, it's so funny how once they get a single skeptical question, they shut down all conversation. And I've seen footage of Greta Thunberg do that, where if she doesn't know the answer to the question, she just shuts right down. She doesn't answer any more questions. That's the end of it. And that's very similar to what I saw unfold here with Avi. And frankly, that's how I got kicked out of all the UN conferences. I think it was in 2016. We went to the United Nations Climate Change Conference, and they had never had a skeptical journalist like me zipping around inside that complex. And I saw chief of an Indigenous band in Manitoba. He was there, and he was telling everybody about the dangers of the oil sands. Well, he's in Manitoba, nowhere near the oil sands, but he was happy to dress in his war bonnet and pretend like he had been close to the oil sands and that he was speaking on behalf of the Indigenous people who live up there. And I just asked them who paid for his trip. His press secretary ran, locked herself in a bathroom, and moral of the story, none of us are allowed back in UN climate change conferences or any UN conference anymore, because apparently that's harassment, asking people how you got there. My concern was that the Canadian government had paid his way for him to go all the way to Morocco to bash us. Okay, let's get to some of these Rebel chats, because we have 5 minutes left in the show. And thank you, everybody who's already donated to the Rebel chats. When YouTube demonetized us, it did take a serious bite out of our revenue. But as is with all things that happen to us at Rebel News, when we're in trouble, our people really come through. Woke Mama Bear donated $5 and says, are you helping the church in Ontario that could have been fined millions of dollars for gathering, but they were fined $83,000? I don't know if I've seen reports on that specific church in Waterloo, Trinity Bible Chapel. With what has been going on in Montreal, it's very hard to get people into that church. Now, I know that church, through some of the pastors that I've been working with here in Alberta, they would love to have us there. It's just a people resources kind of thing to get us in there. But that church, I mean, they're really taking a bold stand for all the churches in Ontario. I think that the Justice Centre is representing them, the Justice Centre for Constitutional Freedom. So Pastor James's lawyers are working with that church. But there's a story to be told there, that's for sure. And, you know, if we can get somebody out of the authoritarian hellhole of Montreal for a Sunday, I think we should send somebody to Trinity Bible Chapel, and that has been in the works. It's just that with Montreal, the story is just, I mean, the situation is devolving there every single week. Chris donated $15. Thanks for exposing the darkness in this world. Amazing how deep this deception goes. Thank you, Chris. It's very generous of you. Laura donated $1. It's funny, because if the radical left wants the police to be abolished, you'd think they'd be all over the police brutality in anti-lockdown protests, and you'd think they'd pressure the mainstream to be there. If they want the cops gone, now is their chance. They don't actually want the cops gone. They want the cops to be a social justice police force that doesn't follow a code of ethics that requires them to defend freedom. They want social justice enforcers that would enforce serious consequences on all of us for not thinking exactly like they do. I mean, look at these anti-police protesters, normally speaking. Have a good look at them. They really don't have any life skills. They're career students by and large. A lot of them still live at home, don't really have a real job, not eating enough animal proteins. But that's just a me opinion, not a generalized opinion. They're the people least likely able to survive without the police. They're anti-firearm, they're anti-whatever. Look, if there were a situation where all of a sudden the police were unavailable, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. But these anti-police protesters, especially these urban ones, they're the police who need, or they're the people who need the police the most. That's for sure. Honored Lads YYC donated $2. Congrats, Devin. Welcome to the Dad Club. Oh, no. Devin's been in the Dad Club for a while. He's got a lot of little people running around GraceLife. Justin, also give me that guitar riff, Mr. Justin. Gorgeous. Curtis donated $5. Thanks very much. Janie donated $20. Wow, thanks so much. I appreciate what you're doing to show us what we would never see. You're doing a great job. P.S. Personally, though, I have trouble with the name Rebel, but I do appreciate how you're standing up against the world's narrative. I know that some people have criticisms of the name Rebel. That's why we call ourselves Rebel News, emphasis on news. But when the company was founded, as Ezra's explained multiple times, it's rebelling against the mainstream media narrative. And really, that's all it is. Phrasebo, that's Fraser McBurney, gives us $10. GraceLife Church was violated just by having the cops show up. Time to sue. Next. In Hamilton yesterday, it rained all day, but our rally went off without a hitch considering the rain. Yeah, and from what I understand from a previous Rebel chat, you guys are back under some sort of continued authoritarian lockdown. Laura donated $1. A life is a life, no matter if they died of COVID or suicide or overdose. That's the Christ-like perspective. It breaks my heart that the government has decided whose lives matter and whose don't. Yeah, that's true. Every human life has inherent value because they are image bearers of the divine. Nelson donated $15. I don't see a Rebel chat, but boy, that's very generous. Rebel Mom. I'm going to have to fight you for that username because I'm the Rebel Mom of the company. Gives us $25. Sheila, thanks for all your work on telling the other side of the Pastor Coates story. You're doing an awesome job. Keep up the good work. I will do my very best. Thank you very much, Rebel Mom. Margaret donated $2. Hi, Sheila. Do containers ever get stuck in pipelines? Who's putting a container in a pipeline? Oh, the boat that got stuck in the Suez. Yeah, no, we don't get any sea cans crammed up in our pipelines, that's for sure. They're pretty darn reliable, aren't they? Rebel News biggest fan donated $5. So offended that the cop actually said the word Jew. Imagine if he had said the word the Muslim guy. Trudeau would have been crying buckets of tears, and all Islamic groups would have made sure the cop lost his job the very same day. Love you all. You know, I was thinking about Justin Trudeau and his hypocrisy. Drea had said that there was an anti-Asian hate rally that she sort of happened across in BC over the weekend. And I thought, remember when Justin Trudeau didn't apologize for pushing the narrative that an Asian guy snipped at that little girl's hijab with the hijab hoax? That little girl said it was an Asian man. I think she meant Caucasian, but she was just parroting what the adults around her had probably told her to say. So, yeah, there's Asian hate out there. And a lot of it was fostered by Justin Trudeau a few years ago, and he's never apologized for any of that, for getting that completely wrong. Chris donated $5. There have been nurses and doctors expressing opinions contrary to the mainstream narrative who are being reprimanded or terminated in some cases. Why no room for debate? Truth does fear debate. Yeah, Tamara Ugolini, before she had her latest bouncing baby, Ugolini, did a lot of work on that file, reaching out to doctors and nurses who were trying to tell the other side of the story, but were being censored and facing serious professional repercussions for that. And David has a great interview with Dr. Trozi, I think is his name. It's a 3-part interview where they break down some of the more confusing issues around COVID. And I thought it was a great interview because I'm not a doctor, and I found the information really digestible, which is great. And I think we're finally all caught up on Rebel Chats. We are, according to my monitor, 3 minutes past the hour. I made it through live. None of my computer equipment melted down. I still have a job unless I get an email saying I don't. And thank you, everybody, for bearing with me. Thank you, Justin, for all your help. And thank you to everybody who continues to support us through our Rebel Chats going around the censorship and demonetization of YouTube. And we'll see you back here on the live stream tomorrow on Rumble and YouTube. But I'd prefer if you watched on Rumble. And I'm not sure who's hosting tomorrow. It's probably going to be me. So good luck to us all. Thanks, everybody.